Hello guys, welcome to a new video. In this video we're gonna review Nikon D3100 camera. It's a really nice camera. It is almost 12-year-old. This camera was launched back in 2010, so it's a fairly old camera. But guys, can it still take good images in 2022? Let's find out. So watch the entire video and you will figure out, can you take good photos with this? Can you take good videos with it? Is it still relevant in 2022 or not? If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to the channel, because here you can find reviews of all the camera gear and the lenses and also the photography tutorials as well, guys. Alright guys, let's begin the video. So as I already told you, this camera was launched in 2010 and this camera features a 14 megapixel sensor. So 14 megapixel is not very high and not very less either. If we talk about the ISO range on this camera, it goes from 100 to 3200 native, and you can boost it up to 12,500. So it's not a very ideal camera if you want to shoot in low lighting situation. You should look for something newer, maybe D3400. But this is still a pretty good camera. It can shoot 3 frames per second. So for portrait and landscape photography, that is quite okay, but not for action or sports photography. Also, the dynamic range on this camera is just 11.2, so it is not the best camera for landscape photography, or if you want to do some HDR photography. So you should look for maybe D3200 or D3300, because those cameras have a really high dynamic range, guys. If we talk about the video aspect of this camera, it can shoot full HD 24 frame per second. So that is really good, because 24 frame per second gives you a cinematic look in your video, and you can actually get really good video with this camera. But I would say the autofocus doesn't work that great in the video. Now since we are talking about the autofocus, so this camera has 11 autofocus point, and the center one is the cross type. So if you are doing photography, that works pretty fine. The autofocus is pretty snappy. You are able to focus on the subject. But if you are in the live mode, if you are in the video mode, then the autofocus doesn't work that great. So if you want to shoot video with this camera, I would recommend that you should either do the manual focusing, or you fix your focus before you start making the video. If you talk about the weight of this camera, it's around 500 grams, so it is not a very heavy camera, and it is a pretty sturdy camera. The grip is pretty good. Ergonomics are pretty nice on this camera, as are the case with all the Nikon camera. And yeah, the buttons and dial are exactly the same that you find in most of the Nikon camera. It is very easy to use, even if you have never used a Nikon camera. So if you pick this camera, it would be very easy to use, because Nikon camera are very simply designed. The ergonomics are great, menu system is great, and it is very easy to learn them. Same is the case with Canon cameras as well. They are also very easy to learn, guys. The LCD screen on the back of this camera is a fixed screen. It doesn't have a flip out screen, and this is not a touch screen. So whenever you want to make any changes, you have to press these buttons or go into the menus. So this is what you expect from such a cheap camera, because in 2022 you can get this camera for around $120, which is a really good bargain price, because this camera lets you record videos as well, and it lets you take photos as well. And one downside in this camera is that it doesn't have a microphone input jack, so you cannot connect extra microphone to get better external audio. So you have to rely either on recording your audio separately, and then you have to sync it in the post. The LCD screen on the back of this camera is 230K dots, so it is not very high resolution. So sometimes when you are taking images and you are trying to see your images on this LCD screen, they don't look sharp. But if you download them onto your laptop, then you are able to see whether the images are sharp or not. So this LCD screen doesn't give you the best resolution, and it doesn't let you know whether your images captured are sharp or not, guys. Alright guys, now I'm gonna put onto the screen the photos that I've taken with this camera. And the photos that I took with this camera were with this 35mm kit lens. And trust me guys, it was a very low lighting situation, because right now it is the New Year time and I live in Sweden, and this part of the year it is very dark and gloomy, and it is kind of hazy and raining all the time. but despite all that, the images that came out of this camera were really very nice. I really liked the images. There were no problem with the sharpness, and since I was using this 35mm f1.8 DX lens, so this lens gave me slightly more better images in low lighting situation, and the sharpness of this lens is also much better compared to the kit lens that you get with this camera. So if you want to take like some really nice photos, maybe you should use a 50mm lens or this 35mm lens, and then you can get really great images. But personally, I didn't find any problem whatsoever with the image. You can take really nice images of landscape as well. You can take great portrait photos. This is a perfect camera for, you know, family outing, and you can use this in studio as well, guys. Now I'm gonna put onto the screen the video that I've taken with this camera. I'm gonna do a voiceover on the video because the original video that I recorded had a audio in Hindi, but you would be able to understand whatever I say because I'm gonna do a voiceover on that video. And the autofocus in video was struggling a lot, so I tried to, you know, record the video using the manual focus, because if you, let's say, are trying to, you know, focus on a very small, you know, leaf of a plant, so it can hunt like crazy and struggle a lot to find the autofocus in video. So it's better to, you know, rely on the manual focus if you want to do a video. So here is the footage that I've taken with this camera. Hello guys, the footage that you are seeing right now is from the D3100 camera, and I am using the 35mm f1.8 prime lens with this camera, and you can see with this prime lens you can get really nice background blur. So I have focused on these small berries and the background looks really nicely blurred out. So now I'm gonna try to focus on this background, so you would be able to see what kind of image quality you can get out of this camera. And you can see the video footage looks really very nice from this camera. Everything looks really nice. Now I'm trying to focus on this branch of the tree. So now this branch is in focus, and you can see the background blur is so amazing, and the branch looks really sharp. The video quality looks excellent from this camera, and it can shoot full HD 24 frames per second, and it can take great video, guys. It's a great camera for making videos. So guys, the video quality looks really good. The colors and the everything, sharpness is really nice. Autofocus is the only issue with this camera, and the second issue, as I already told you, that this doesn't have a microphone input jack, so that is one issue. But like, if you don't care about these two issues, you can still get great full HD video with this camera, guys. So now I'm gonna talk about one very important feature that this camera has and many other more expensive camera don't have. Guys, on this camera you can connect off camera flash as well. You know, I have a Nikon D600 mirror full frame camera, and that is a professionally built camera, but that camera also doesn't feature off camera flash, right? So but on this camera you can, you know, put your flash on a tripod, and you can, you know, trigger and control them using this little camera. So this becomes a very good choice if you want to use this camera in a studio for taking photos, guys. Now I'm gonna show you a close-up of how this camera looks like. So guys, you can see from the back this camera looks like this. So this is the button to, you know, switch to the live view, and the live view is pretty handy to have. So see, you can see the live view. I have taken off the lens cap, so it becomes really handy if you want to do some kind of a manual focusing in the live view, guys. And from the top it is almost similar like all the Nikon camera have the same dial that you see on all the entry-level Nikon cameras, guys. And from this side you can actually put the SD card. SD card goes over here, and over this side you can, you know, connect it to a laptop or a computer. So it has a USB and the HDMI port. So it is a really nice camera. It has all the buttons that you need, and of course this camera has a Nikon F mount, so you can use all the Nikon glass on this camera, even the older glasses, the manual focus lenses right from 1959. So all the F mount lenses gonna work perfectly fine on this camera. Now talking about the final conclusion, should you get this camera in 2022? Well, I would say if you need a camera, a backup camera in a studio, since this can do off camera flash, so then this is a really great choice, right? You can use this camera still to take really nice, sharp photos in a studio, because in the studio you can control the lighting. You can always shoot at 100 ISO and then get a really clean images, and 14 megapixel is still more than good enough, guys. And if you are a hobbyist, you want to learn the basics of photography, you want to take photos of your family, friends, or you want to take some photos for Instagram profile or Facebook, then this camera is a great choice. And you can also do some casual video. You can even make YouTube videos if you rely on manual focus. If you do like talking head kind of video like I am doing, you can focus on your wherever you want to sit first, and then you can start the recording. Then it will not do any focus hunting at all. So then this is a great camera to have, guys, because this camera you can get for around 100 to 120 US dollar used, which is a really great price, along with the kit lens, guys. If you need like some really high resolution camera, you need the 4K, you need the ultimate image quality, then this is not the best camera for you. Then you should go for something newer. But for all other people who don't mind having a microphone input jack, because this doesn't have who doesn't need 4K, and who are happy with the 14 megapixel, for them this is a great camera. This can be your first DSLR to get entry into the DSLR world, and you can start learning the basics of photography for such a cheap bargain price, guys. So in 2022 you can definitely get this camera because it still take great images, guys. Alright guys, I hope you like my review. If you like the review, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you always get notified whenever I post a new video. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment below, and you can also follow me on Instagram, and you can reach out to me there as well if you have any question. Alright guys, I will see you in a new video.